It's Nolan. Yeah, self-love at an all-time high. It's a feeling I can't even describe. Used to watch from the side, heart beating full of ego and pride. Scared of living, more fearful to die. Never minds had me second guessing. It's suppression blocking my blessings. Now I'm manifesting. Set intentions, the paper stretching. People asking questions that they wonder what changed with me. Learn to switch to fit. If it can't fit me, just stay with me. Listen, animosity gradually on the decline. Respiratory flowing when I recline. About to catch a flight, throw the peace sign. New city, new state. Shit, I'm leaving on my baggage in my suitcase. Money is rising, my skin looking vibrant. I'm moving with impeccable timing. It's more than just rhyming. All this beauty that's around me, plus we luxury dining. Only reason y'all be tripping, cause you nickel and diamond. Ooh, peak the je ne sais quoi. Feel the vibe. I'm just grateful that I'm still alive. I thank God, homie. You thank God, man. I thank God, man. Blessings. Yeah. Peak the je ne sais quoi. Feel the vibe. I'm just grateful that I'm still alive. I thank God. Yeah. We thank God, homie. Yeah. What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Now, y'all know we've covered this Jay-Z, Alex Spiro, Tony Busby, the accusations, all of this stuff very closely. I'm going to continue to cover it very closely. But I've also told y'all, these lawyers are talking spicy, right? In the filings that they've been sending out to the judge, Judge Annalise Torres, both parties have been talking spicy in their filings. Both of them have been taking real good uppercuts and stuff back and forth. They both have their own range of allegations against each other as it pertains to perhaps being defamed or being intimidated or being extorted, all of these different things. But in what I would say is an unpredictable or unexpected turn, we now have the Honorable Judge Annalisa Torres coming out and pushing back against Jay-Z and Alex Spiro. Now, I'm not saying she's pushing back in terms of what they're saying or they're filing claims of innocence and all of these different things. But she is pushing back against the amount of pressure that they're putting on her to make a decision to uncover the woman, the accuser, right? Because they've been trying to remove the anonymity from her. And she's pushing back on the amount of letters that she's received from Alex Spiro and Jay-Z saying that y'all are doing too much, okay? Y'all are trying to fast track the judicial process, which is something that Tony Busby has said. And at least in the moment, as it pertains to that, she agrees. Let's go ahead and pull up her response. I didn't expect to see this, but we're here and we're going to talk about it. Let's get to it, y'all. Let's not waste no time. So we've got this letter here. It's only 5 pages, which I'm grateful for. This is coming from United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Jane Doe, plaintiff against Diddy, all his companies, Sean Carter / Jay-Z. We don't got to talk about Diddy. But here's the letter from the judge. This is from Annalisa Torres, District Judge. Plaintiff Jane Doe filed this action on October 20th, 2024, alleging violation of the New York City Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act, NYC Admin Code 10 through 1101. It's sick. Now, I don't know what that means, right? By order dated November 6th, 2024, the court provisionally granted plaintiff's motion to proceed anonymously, explaining that defendants had yet to appear in this matter and that the balance of interest weighing for or against anonymity may shift as her suit continues. Okay? So this is where November 6th, she was allowed to move forward anonymously, right? But of course, it's subject to change if needed. On December 8th, 2024, plaintiff amended her complaint to add Sean Carter, known professionally as Jay-Z, a defendant. See generally AM complaint, ECF number 29. Plaintiff again sought leave to proceed anonymously, ECF number 32. But this time, Carter's counsel appeared and moved to deny her motion, or in the alternative, to dismiss her amended complaint pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 12B1. Okay? Carter also moved for an expedited hearing on the issue. The next day, Carter's attorney filed a letter containing a declaration from an associate at his law firm recounting a phone conversation she had with an unnamed woman who claimed the plaintiff's counsel encouraged her to lie about her experience of SA. Carter's lawyers asked the court to consider this additional information in connection with plaintiff's motion to proceed anonymously. Plaintiff's counsel denied Carter's allegations against him. On December 13, 2024, Carter's attorney filed an additional letter alerting the court to a recently published interview of plaintiff on NBC News. In the interview, plaintiff, speaking anonymously, explained her allegations against defendants and her reasons for coming forward now. Carter's lawyer points to the interview in which plaintiff admitted to inconsistencies in her story as evidence that plaintiff's claims have no factual basis whatsoever. He also argues that plaintiff's counsel violated Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 11B by failing to undertake a reasonable inquiry into the facts before filing the complaint and failing to seek admission pro hac vice to this court. Carter's attorney requested an expedited briefing schedule for a motion to strike the first amended complaint under Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 11C2 and 12F, right? We've covered all of these things. The next day, Carter's counsel submitted yet another filing, a motion for an emergency order directing the preservation of evidence and striking the amended complaint under Rule 12F. So she's given us an account and a rundown of all of the requests that have been made to the judge thus far, right? So here's her ruling. Motion to proceed anonymously. In deciding whether a plaintiff may proceed anonymously, courts balance the plaintiff's interest in anonymity against both the public interest in disclosure and any prejudice to the defendant, right? The Second Circuit has laid out a non-exhaustive list of factors to be considered. 1, whether the litigation involves matters that are highly sensitive and of a personal nature, whether identification poses a risk of retaliatory, physical, or mental harm to the party seeking to proceed anonymously, or even more critically, to innocent non-parties, whether identification presents other harms and the likely severity of those harms, including whether the injury litigated against would be incurred as a result of the disclosure of the plaintiff's identity, whether the plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harms of disclosure, particularly in light of her age, whether the suit is challenging the actions of the government or that of private parties, whether the defendant is prejudiced by allowing the plaintiff to press her claims anonymously, whether the nature of that prejudice, if any, differs at any particular stage of the litigation, and whether any prejudice can be mitigated by the district court, whether the plaintiff's identity has thus far been confidential, whether the public's interest in the litigation is furthered by requiring the plaintiff to disclose her identity. 9, whether because of the purely legal nature of the issues presented or otherwise, there is an atypically weak public interest in knowing the litigants' identities, and whether there are any alternative mechanisms for protecting the confidentiality of the plaintiff. Okay? A court is not required to list each of the factors or use any particular formation as long as it is clear that the court balanced the interests at stake in reaching its conclusion. Here, the weight of the factors tips in the favor of allowing plaintiff to remain anonymous, at least for this stage of the litigation. So here we are. This is the judge saying she will allow the plaintiff, the accuser, to remain anonymous at this time. And I think a few of those statutes or rules that were just outlined to us are the reason, right? Especially when it comes to public interest in the case, right? You could remain anonymous if the public interest is strong, right? If there's no interest in the case, then yeah, we can reveal your identity because there's not going to be a bunch of people looking into you, trying to expose you. Or in our case here, content creators such as myself talking about you on YouTube, which increases your visibility and people trying to see who you are, where you are, maybe look up your social media, get any information that they can to perhaps discount your story or just dig into details of your life to see if the things that you're giving us thus far are adding up. Right? Here we are. Factors 1, 2, 4, and 7 weigh strongly in favor of anonymity. In her amended complaint, plaintiff alleges that defendants drugged and raped her when she was only 13. Courts in this district have recognized that allegations concerning SA are highly sensitive and of an extremely personal nature. Okay? Plaintiff is particularly vulnerable to the possible harms of disclosure. According to her amended complaint, she continues to experience depression, PTSD, and a seizure disorder associated with the stress of her SA. So for those reasons, they're saying that they're going to prioritize her mental health. Moreover, plaintiff's counsel asserts that many of his other clients who have filed similar lawsuits against Combs claim to have been threatened by Mr. Combs for their decision to speak out. And finally, although plaintiff sat for an interview with NBC News concerning her case, NBC allowed her to conduct the interview anonymously. So this same NBC News interview that Jay-Z and Spiro are using to kind of work in their favor, the judge is also saying, well, they didn't disclose her identity either. They thought that it was in her best interest to remain anonymous. So until further notice, she will continue to be so, right? So we're not getting a lift on anonymity anytime soon, right? Now, she says, granted, several factors weigh against allowing plaintiff to proceed anonymously. Plaintiff is challenging the actions of private parties, not the government, and given the media attention surrounding this case, the public has a substantial interest in this litigation separate and apart from its general interest in an accused being able to publicly confront an accuser. Alternative mechanisms may exist to protect confidentiality, namely the redaction and sealing of documents. Most importantly, plaintiffs' continued anonymity may cause prejudice to defendants, making it more difficult for them to collect the facts necessary to mount a defense and, as appropriate, challenge plaintiffs' credibility. Interesting. And they use one of Diddy's cases as an example, identifying the most significant form of prejudice to defendants as the discovery disadvantage that plaintiff's anonymity would present. The court does not take such prejudice lightly. So she understands that it may be difficult for Jay-Z and Spiro and Team Quinn Emanuel to, be as effective as possible in defense of themselves by not knowing who she is. They don't take this lightly, but at this current point, she's not moving. Nevertheless, at this exceedingly early stage in this case, the factors counseling against disclosure outweigh those that counsel in favor. Okay. Accordingly, plaintiff's motion to proceed anonymously is granted. Plaintiff is advised that because the balance of these factors will certainly shift as this case proceeds, especially if and when the parties engage in discovery in earnest, the court intends to revisit this decision at a future date. Okay. Letting us know this is still subject to change at a later part, but we're going to go through even more proceedings and let this happen naturally. We're not going to expedite anything. Remaining motions. Since Carter's attorney first appeared in this case 17 days ago, he has submitted a litany of letters and motions attempting to impugn the character of plaintiff's lawyer, many of them expounding on the purported urgency of this case. Plaintiff's counsel as a self-promoting and accusing him of extortion, requesting to be heard on an expedited basis and accusing plaintiff's counsel of exploiting the legal process to generate media attention, asserting that plaintiff's counsel seeks only to benefit himself, requesting the shortening of a deadline from 21 days to 1 day, describing plaintiff's counsel as willing to blatantly violate the core ethical obligations of all attorneys, and requesting a hearing on a motion the following day. So she didn't appreciate all of these letters and motions being filed, probably because it was so close to the holidays, inconveniencing her. Carter's lawyers' relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, she says, a waste of judicial resources and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Moreover, although Carter's attorney assails plaintiff's lawyer as having a chronic inability to follow the rules, Carter's counsel has failed to abide by this court's clear rules. So she's saying y'all are playing the same game. I've been saying this for the last few days. They playing somewhat of the same game. I do believe Jay-Z is innocent in this case. But as far as the chess game that they're playing, it seems to be very similar in nature, right? Because they're both using the press to their advantage to say the things that they want to say, to put out these things, because when they file letters to the judge, these letters are being released at very fast rates compared to in the past. We would just get updates from websites, but now this stuff is being made publicly fast. We're seeing all of the details. We're talking about it, and they know this. So they say, under the court's individual practices in civil cases and with limited exceptions, a pre-motion letter is required prior to the filing of any motion. Although Carter's attorney stated that he intended to file immediately a motion to strike the First Amendment complaint under Rule 12F, he did not give plaintiff the requisite 5 business days to respond. Okay? You must wait for the court to set a motion schedule or state whether any exception to the court's individual practices applied. They say this is unacceptable. Counsel is hereby advised that any further motions filed in violation of the court's individual practices may be denied on that ground alone. That's tough. So Spiro is going to have to scale back. Lastly, although Carter's attorney is entitled to file a Rule 11 motion without first seeking leave of court, the court discourages this approach. If he still intends to serve plaintiff with a motion for sanctions, the court denies his request to shorten the safe harbor provision contained within Rule 11C2 from 21 days to 1 day. All right. And remember, those sanctions that he's requesting against Busby would be fines. But you can't change the rules, right? Carter's motion to strike the amended complaint under Rule 12F is denied. By January 10th, 2025, plaintiff shall file her response to Carter's motion for an order directing the preservation of evidence. By January 17th, 2025, Carter shall file his reply, if any. Okay? So that's where we stand. Jay-Z did put in a motion saying that they want all the evidence to be preserved. They don't want nothing let go. They don't trust that Tony Busby will do right by this case, that he may destroy evidence that may make him look, not credible. So she's accepting the motion. Busby and the accuser must then file their response by January 10th. I guess by then she'll rule on which side she wants to uphold. And then Jay-Z and Spiro will have until January 17th to come back with any reply, if any. Okay? The clerk of this court is respectfully directed to terminate the motions at ECF numbers 32, 37, 40, 41, and 46. So ordered, stamped as of today. Annalisa Torres, United States District Judge. Now, this isn't the judge, saying Jay-Z's guilty. This isn't the judge saying I'm siding with the alleged victim plaintiff. She's just saying y'all are overwhelming me with all these letters. You're trying to change safe harbor dates and rules. You're trying to issue sanctions. Because on Jay-Z's side, he's trying to get this thing stomped out immediately. Right? He feels like he's taking extreme reputational harm just by the mere existence of this. Based on the information that's available to us, we can pretty much see that Jay-Z wasn't present for whatever this person believes happened to them. And because of that reason, Jay-Z is like, I want this shit completely eradicated. I want this shit off the board. I want to be able to sue Tony Busby, and I want to sue her for making me go through this, to have to endure through this, for my family to have to endure through this. and it be so ridiculous. The judge is saying, all those things considered, sir, you're going to have to go through the process as I see fit, right? Now, Megan Cuniff, a few days ago, she did put out what Miss Annalisa Torres had on her itinerary, as in other things that she had to determine judgment on. They didn't seem all that important, you know, but in the eyes of the law, everything is important. If a nigga got a speeding ticket, we may see it as whatever. But as a judge and as that person with the speeding ticket, they still have a responsibility to uphold, to allow that person to address their speeding ticket, whether they want to fight it, whether they want to pay it, blah, blah, blah. For, you know what I'm saying? Or for whatever other stuff was on the itinerary. She's just now responding to all of this paperwork for the first time. She didn't respond to anything for the last 2 weeks. Now she's back from Christmas. And like y'all been doing too motherfucking much. Right? And she says she does not feel as though any of that will work in Jay-Z's favor. I find that to be very interesting. So that also means that we're probably going to experience a little bit of a slowdown in terms of what we're seeing regarding this case, at least as it pertains to legal filings. Do I think that their press campaign on either side to try to, you know, show truth or show validation of client, do I think that's going to slow down? I don't know. Because Jay-Z and Roc Nation, that page has been very active. They've been very active on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, any way that they can, you know, project his innocence. They're doing so. And then on the other end, Tony Busby, anything that Jay-Z says, the lawsuit, the extortion claim, the defamation claim, he's responding to all of these things on his own. He's got his own lawsuit against Roc Nation now. So as it pertains to all of this big mess, there's a lot of moving parts. There's the SA thing, including Diddy and Jay-Z in New York. But then there's also Jay-Z's defamation and extortion claim in LA. There's also Tony Busby's lawsuit against Roc Nation in Texas. So there's still a lot to be addressed, but how they're going to go about this, I don't know. Still going to be a lot to unpack, and ultimately, we would want to know the truth, and we would like to see that truth come to light. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. I will catch y'all on the next one. Much love and respect, y'all. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the Gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef for computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I been dropping these haters like calories. Cross I'm out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no condom. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.